just going to go over how I pin my track together. This is basically a 3D printed version of the Rexnord track. And this version is, I believe it's Andy Love that made this modification. He went ahead and put in the holes for attaching the tread, which is going to be like a thicker part that goes on top of the Rexnord track. And then the tread portion also has a recess for a TPU rubber, like actual tread that goes inside that tread mount. So anyway, I'm going to be putting together a couple sections of the track real quick. I have already cut, this is 4mm rod, and I've already cut it to 135 millimeters wide, which is the distance from the outside edge of the track here and the outside edge here. So I'm just going to go ahead and pin these together. One thing of note, this is a 4mm hole right here. So the 4mm shaft is a little bit snug, but it's not tight. But hopefully it'll be enough friction to hold it in. But what I'm doing there's two different sides to the track. There's a side that has basically 2 lugs or 2 tubes, and then the opposite side has 3. So what I'm doing is, on the side of the track that has the 2 tubes, I'm actually drilling this hole out to 4.5 millimeters with a drill bit. I'm just running the bit in as far as I can get it from the outside edge. And I just want to basically open up this hole to 4.5 millimeters so that there's really no friction on this side of the track. There's no friction on the 2 lug side. All the friction is going to be on the 3 lug side. And what I'm hoping is, that prevents the pins from working their way out as the track pivots. So I'm just going to go ahead, and I already have one piece ready to go. And then we're just going to go ahead and line it up and run the 4mm shaft down in there. And like I said, it shouldn't be super tight, but it is snug. So that's one piece. Just going to keep doing that. I have maybe 4 or 5 pieces of track ready to go. It takes 32 track segments to get around the entire track assembly, the track drive assembly. So I don't quite have all 32 printed for this. This is going to be for the track's the same on both sides, but this particular section of track is going to be going on the right side, which was what I just finished up in my last video. I finished attaching the right side of the Yukon track drive to the crossbar. So again, I'm just running these in by hand. I don't have to use a tool. I don't know if the pins are just friction fit. So I don't know if they're going to require anything more than friction over time as I'm driving it around. So we'll have to wait and see. That one is pretty tight. Sometimes I'll take a tool and just seat it just a little bit. Basically, you don't want any of the axle pin sticking out beyond this tube here, because both of the wheels are going to be riding just outside of these lugs on the track. So the outer wheel is going to be riding on the track, but there's an inner wheel that is going to actually, the inner wheel is going to be riding on top. The outer wheels, the inside of the outer wheel is what needs to, this track needs to fit in between the inside of the outer wheels. I'm pretty sure I went over that in another video, but just go over it again. You need to make sure that your wheels are wide enough so that the track goes in between the inside edge of the outer wheels, and there should actually be a little bit of play. You don't want it too tight, but you don't want it too loose either. So you might have to put some washers in on your axle shafts to make sure you're getting the spacing and the clearance that you want. The other thing that I noticed, and I noticed one person mentioned it on one of the threads about the track, is there's not a beveled edge. This edge is actually a 90 degree right here. It's a 90 degree face. And the other thing that I've done, once I have the track pretty much ready to go, I've basically taken a small belt sander and I've just kind of knocked off the edge of this part of the track, just beveled it ever so slightly. And the reason why I did that is when the track is coming up onto a wheel, I'm hoping that the bevel will allow the track to kind of find the inside of the wheel without riding on top of the wheel. It shouldn't ride on top of the wheel anyway. The track should be snug enough that there's not really enough clearance for that to happen, but someone else had mentioned about putting a bevel on this edge, and after I ran the track around the left track drive, I did notice that there was a time where the track was getting caught on the edge of the wheel and wanting to ride on top of the outer wheel as opposed to in between the outer wheel. So I went ahead and on the other track, I went ahead and beveled all these edges on this lug, and it really did seem to help the track find the space in between the center of the wheels, or in between the wheels. So I'll probably go ahead and do that on this one as well. But that's how I'm doing my tracks. The next part of the track drive, or the next part of the track, would be to print the tread portion and actually insert the tread into that tread block, and then screw the tread blocks on through these holes. But I'm just going to start with the basic inner track first and try to get Wally moving around and just do some testing with the inner track. And then once I feel comfortable that the track drive is functioning properly, I'll probably go ahead and do the rest of the outer tracks with the treads. So I'll wrap it up for this portion.